Palestinian is not limited to Gaza. Palestinian is a syndrome. It's a mental illness. It's a universal phenomenon. And Cenk is the perfect example. And if he gets hungry eventually, I will not be surprised that he will eat his own children. You are a parasite, a bottom feeder. This is what you are.
His basement needs to be investigated because he's definitely hiding bodies in there. I mean, this guy, Cenk, is there ever a conversation or debate on Piers Morgan's show that doesn't immediately devolve into a pathetic circus?
Well, look, that guy in particular is meant to be a circus. So his backstory is that he became an Israeli agent, turned on his own family, turned them all in, etc. Now, that's a debatable and interesting moment. He says he was preventing acts of terrorism, and maybe that's true in that particular case. And so that's a complicated moral equation, right? And if you say, hey, I like that he did that, no problem, okay? But since then, all he's done is say how great Israel is and how the Palestinians shouldn't exist.
Not only that, he doesn't believe they do exist as a people. As a people, he thinks it's a concept, that it's made up. By the way, that guy, if you're wondering what his name is, he's a former Shin Bet agent, Mosab Hassan Yousef. His father was the co-founder of Hamas. He himself was a Hamas militant until he was captured by the Israelis. And at that point, he agreed to be an informant for the Israelis. And so his life literally depends on doing what he's doing on Piers Morgan's show.
Yeah, and he's, as you heard him say in that clip, he thinks being a Palestinian is a mental disability. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than this guy. And so, and then he says, not only that I'm a parasite, dehumanize me, because later he's gonna threaten me. You're gonna see that. And so, and he threatens any politician who disagrees with Israel. Because remember, he's used to working with agencies that if you disagree with them, especially if you're a Muslim like me, they just kill you, and then they're done with it. So that's what he's used to. So that's why making threats to doesn't sound crazy to him. Saying that you're going to eat your own children because you like Palestinians, and that's what people who like Palestinians would do, or that he called me a Palestinian, and I said thank you. And he said, well, if you're a Palestinian, then you saw the tape. You're a mental disability, you eat your own children, etc. So this
Palestinians provided a safe haven for Armenians who were forced out of Armenia during the Armenian genocide. I know this because my maternal ancestors ended up in Haifa. My maternal grandmother was born in Haifa. And anytime she talked about what it was like being a Christian Armenian in Haifa at the time, she had nothing but positive things to say about the Palestinian people for welcoming the Armenian refugees, for giving them a home, and for protecting them. So I'm sorry, anytime I hear people dehumanize Palestinians as violent, dangerous animals, it makes me sick, okay? It makes me literally like want to vomit.
And you know, when he turned his own family in, he was saving his own ass. But you could say, hey, maybe he was doing it genuinely to save other civilians.
Right, right. That seems like the type of guy who would do that. Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
But what has he been doing for decades since then? This is the third time I've been forced into debating him, and he's been saying that Palestinians shouldn't exist. It's not an ethnicity, and they should be driven into other Arab countries. And in this appearance on Piers Morgan, he said that the IDF is the one helping the children of Gaza the most.
Oh my God, oh my God.
I mean, who would say that?
Okay, let's keep this moving, all right? So he stated that, look, yes, the head of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, has been killed by the IDF. That was big news last week, but there's still more to be done. They can't, wind down with this war. Lots more to do. In fact, we need to expand this war to other countries. Let's take a look.
The most significant assassination that I'm looking for is the assassination of Ayatollah, the head of the snake, the Iranian regime that includes Ayatollah and the Iranian guard. They are all targets. The next level is going to be massive assassinations in Tehran, and anyone who gets in the way. It doesn't matter where they are. Even if they are politicians in the West, they are going to fall.
politicians in the West, if they get in the way, they're gonna fall. Just remember that threat that he just issued, okay? But I just wanna make a comment about how Piers Morgan never seems to interrupt that side of this argument as any public figure who's engaging in that argument is making the argument. When you start talking, Cenk, Piers Morgan can't help himself. Before you can even start answering the question he just asked you, he interrupts you and doesn't let you finish. Why is that?
Because I'm disrupting his framing. His framing is on domestic issues. Donald Trump is a wonderful populist and Kamala Harris is a fake, phony, the worst. But I'm unbiased. I'm unbiased. Brother, you were on his show. You're friends with him. I get it. Just own it. That's okay. There's a lot of people on Trump's side. But no, he's neutral. Come on,
he's not
Piers,
neutral.
Nobody believes that.
Look, he can have whatever opinion he wants. That's not my issue with him, even though I tend to disagree with Piers Morgan's perspective on these debates. My issue with him is that he'll have someone like you on the show, and you're supposed to be there to share your perspective, but he interrupts you before you could even answer his question. Whereas the other guy is literally calling you a parasite, predicting that you would eat your own children. But there's no interruptions when those points are being made. So
Anna, to that point, whenever we debate Israel on his show, the person making the outrageous points from Israel never gets interrupted. They're etc. But when I start talking, it's not just Piers. Every pro-Israel person will interrupt me every time because in their mind they're entitled to all the airspace and they're used to doing exclusively Israeli propaganda. Who's this annoying Muslim they let on the air to give the other side and to talk about saving lives? Ew. No, shut him up. Otherwise, I'll just talk over him. Or Piers, you talk over him. But no matter what happens, don't let him say it. Just keep talking over him.
Right.
And so when I shout back, then they go, oh, you're so uncivil. Because every time their strategy is make sure you interrupt him so that he can't get his points out.
I would just speak over him, honestly. If Piers Morgan wants you on the show, then he should let you make your point. Anyway, that's a bit of a tangent though. I wanna go back to what Yousef just did in that last video that we watched, because he issued a threat against any Western leader who stands in the way of what Israel wants to do, okay? So Cenk actually pressed Yousef on that threat, wanted some clarity on what he meant by that threat. So let's take a look at that portion.
What do you mean the politicians in the West will fall if they don't agree to back Israel's war against Iran?
Yeah, we will not vote for them anymore.
Oh, well, you don't vote for them now. You're not in our country. What do you mean the politicians will fall?
We live in democracy, and we have the right to bring them up and to bring them down. Those who agree with Ayatollah, we don't want them in office. And all the sympathizers with terrorists like yourself, we don't want them even to be in our country.
Who is we and how are you bringing down politicians in the West if they dare to defy Israel? Tell me how you're bringing them down.
I already answered you that.
Check his basement, Cenk.
Okay, so Israel doesn't have any voters in America. They're Israelis, they're not US citizens. That guy, I don't know what his citizenship is. I know where his loyalties lie, but it ain't for America. So if you check the polling, as I explained later in the interview, you'll see that Kamala Harris would pick up 4 to 5 points if she said that she was going to do a weapons embargo. So where is the popular momentum on Israel's side that would bring that to politics? It doesn't exist. There's only 2 real interpretations. One is we'll just have AIPAC buy your politicians, and if we can't buy them like Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman, we'll spend 14 million and 8 million, and your politicians will fall under the weight of our financial strength and the fact that we could just, in America, bribery's been legalized. So that's the generous interpretation.
Yeah, but when
the ungenerous interpretation is if politicians disagree with Israel today in the Middle East, they kill them. And so now he's saying politicians in the West, you will fall if you dare to disagree with Israel. You tell me what he means by it, because it's not the votes. They don't live in America. It ain't the votes.
Yeah, I mean, look, there have been a lot of different elements of this ongoing war that have shocked me, especially in regard to how little the US government seems to care about Americans because we have now seen many Americans get killed as a result of how Israel is prosecuting this war, whether it be, a young Turkish American who was in the West Bank, she got killed, whether it be American journalists who have gotten killed as a result of how Israel is prosecuting this war. And the American government doesn't care. They barely even want to release a statement about it. The only time they will say anything about it is if a journalist does his or her job and presses a State Department official about it during a press conference. That should be concerning to the American people. Not only are we funding the atrocities that are currently being carried out in the Middle East by Israel and the IDF, we're also risking the lives of the men and women in our armed forces as they're being sent there to defend Israel, as it's behaving belligerently and committing all these war crimes. But Americans who are in the region have already been killed by the IDF, and our government doesn't care at all.
First of all, they're Muslim Americans, so Joe Biden couldn't care less. He has almost no Muslim donors, so he doesn't care at all about Muslims. And second of all, they're American citizens, but they're not donors, so they never care about any American citizen that isn't a donor. So of course Joe Biden doesn't care. Of course Donald Trump doesn't care. Kamala Harris doesn't care. So this is the world we live in.
Final moment that I wanted to highlight is, well, just take a look for yourselves.
If after 9/11, America had discovered that bin Laden was hiding in a particular place, as they did many, many years later, but had they discovered it within a year, and they had attacked that place and taken him out, then most people would have said that was reasonable, responsive military action, wouldn't they? What's the difference morally between? Well, I mean, just to be clear, nobody disputes that Sinwar orchestrated and ordered October the 7th. So if he is the mastermind behind this heinous terror attack, then using the parallel of 9/11, is that not just justification? If that had been bin Laden, would anyone be having too many moral qualms about going after him and killing him?
No, Piers is a great example, but I reject your framing. So let me explain. So bin Laden we did get, and how did we get him? We got him through special forces. And if you remember, a year ago when I was on this program, you said, what should Israel do? And I said, special forces.
In fact, something that most Americans are probably unaware of, back in 2007, the Bush administration had intel on the location of Osama bin Laden. And they had planned a raid, and it was gonna be this intense raid. According to the New York Times at the time, the military set into motion one of the largest strike missions of its kind with long-range bombers, attack helicopters, artillery, and commandos all ready to pummel the rugged mountain valley along Afghanistan's border with Pakistan. But ultimately, the Bush administration called off that raid. You wanna know why? They weren't 100% sure of Osama bin Laden's location. They were concerned this intel might not be 100% correct. But more importantly, the civilian death toll would be too high, and they didn't want to risk that.
So America chose, even in the midst of two horrible wars that we launched.
The Bush administration, like literal war criminals, apparently had more morality in this case than what we're seeing currently in the way Israel is prosecuting this war.
No question about it. So, but even those guys decided that a couple of dozen civilians was too high a price to pay to kill the world's worst terrorists who had hit us personally and killed about 3,000 Americans. Israel thought 42,000 Palestinians is not too high a price. As long as they get the leaders of Hamas, not only Netanyahu, but unfortunately the Israeli public saying, yeah, who cares about those Palestinian lives? 42,000. Imagine if 42,000 Israelis had been killed. What wouldn't we do? Who wouldn't we bomb? Who wouldn't we kill? Who wouldn't we invade? But 42,000 Palestinians died. They go, so what? We got one of their leaders, good enough. No, not good enough. There is no terrorist in the world that I would kill if it meant killing 15,000 children. 15,000 children. What kind of a monster says, yeah, sure, Go ahead. It's their kids. What do I care? Kill them. It's a disgusting place that we're in right now. And almost all of American media is on the side of that lunatic.
Yeah.
Instead of the guy who says those outrageous things, they view as, oh yeah, that makes sense. Israel has a right to defend itself, so they should have slaughtered tens of thousands of women and children. That is insane. No, it would be terrible if it was done to Israel. It's terrible if it's done by Israel. You can't ask for a fairer standard than that.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.